Hi, and welcome to the Love Learns podcast. My name is Dionne Zara, just your average girl wishing to learn more about love and relationships. As a young girl, I always dreamt about my wedding day, and to be fair, I still do sometimes. With many couples around me, I quickly came to realize love isn't as straightforward as the movies make out. So I thought I'd have conversations with couples who made it past happily ever after to learn more about love. And when I say love, I don't mean like the movies and fairy tales, but I mean LOVE, learning to be open, vulnerable, and empathetic. So if you're ready to learn, unlearn, and discover love through couples, you're in the right place. Hi, and welcome to the Love Learns podcast. This week we have Timmy and Bipin, who are going to give us a little bit about their love story, how they met, and how they just overcame some things that kind of normal people wouldn't usually overcome. But in this pandemic, they've had to overcome a few things. So we're just going to have a conversation with them and see where this conversation takes us. Hi, Bipin. Hi, Timmy.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you guys?
Good, not bad, thank you. How are you?
Good, thanks. I'm very good, thank you. So if we could just start off by asking how you guys met, and we can take it from there.
Well, I'll go first because I was the one actually. So the story goes like this. So we went to the same church, both of us. Obviously, it's a church, really big church, and we didn't know each other, but we had a kind of a group that goes for day trips and do different activities once in a month. And this particular time, we went for a music festival. It's a Christian music festival, uh, which happens in West Sussex. It's a really a big music festival, and we were all planning to stay there for from Friday till I think Sunday. We were all planning to stay there, and we had kind of planned to pitch tents and everything. So some of us went early on a Friday and pitched tents and kind of tried to save some space for the friends that we were expecting from church. So we kind of, unofficially saved the spaces and invited people to come and pitch tents there. By the time the Saturday came, lots of people had already come from our church, from different kind of churches and everything. They had already pitched tents, so it was kind of very crowded area. We had some spaces, and we were trying to direct people to come to where we were situated. It was quite difficult, and a lot of people were on the phones trying to direct people to come to where we were. And we had directed some people to come to the exact place. I didn't know that one of the girls were in communication with Timmy and her friends and everything. So Timmy was one of the drivers who was taking some of our friends or people whom she knew. She was driving them to the area, and she was planning to stay there. So what happened was there were lots of people coming in and out and everything, and I saw some girls coming around, and I noticed her. It's like, oh wow, that's a beautiful girl. And while I was looking at her, I saw someone behind her, which this person I knew before because I had met her in one of those trips, and I waved at her. The moment I waved at her, the girl waved back at me, and she noticed it, and they all came down towards us. And they asked us, "Oh, you guys are from Hillsong?" And I was like, "Yeah, we are from the same church. Pitch tent here." And then kind of these girls started pitching tent and everything. And funny enough, none of these girls, they were like, I think four girls in the car, and none of them knew how to pitch the tent. So I became a gentleman and tried to help all these girls to pitch a tent. And I think that gave me the opportunity to talk to her, said hi to her, helped her pitch a tent. Um, clearly didn't know what she was doing, or the rest of the girls. So it kind of helped her in that. And I think that was the opportunity. That's how we met. Started talking to her. That evening, I think we didn't talk much, but I think the next day morning, I think I got the opportunity to talk to her and got to know her better. So yeah, that's how we met actually. Well, that's my story.
Yeah, so that was my second time going to this music festival, and I think I was just about getting planted into this church. Well, I did go to Hillsong before, but just as a visitor, really, not having been part of the church as such. But when I started going, when I decided, okay, this is the church I want to, call my call home as such, like my home church. I started to get to know a couple of people, and one of the girls told me about this WhatsApp group where they're called day trippers, where I plugged myself in. And when this festival was like a few months before the festival was happening, you know, people started talking about it, and they were looking for drivers um, to, like, whoever was driving, then if they had any space in their car, to to be offered if they can have a lift. And I didn't know, to be honest, I didn't know any of the girls who I was actually driving to this festival. But obviously, during that 2 hours, 3 hours journey, I started to get to know them. And I mean, I participated a year before that to the same festival, but at the time I did go with my cousin, so didn't really got to know many people back then. But with the second time round, that was my intention of getting to know as many people as I possibly can, and didn't realize, little I known, this music festival obviously is around 25,000 people usually participate, or take like is on a big field. Little did I know this will be well, my destiny, or God will show me the one um, where I will meet, my future husband. And it was interesting how this worked out, because, like he said, we literally just wandered in. We didn't even know where, we knew it will be a place where Hillsong people will be, gathering in one field, but we were quite late that day. We were coming up on a Saturday. They were there a day before, and we were just like, it was already, the fields were really full. Tents were already pitched up. I think we arrived quite late, just after lunchtime, so we knew it's going to be quite difficult to find a space where we can put our tent up. But we were just having the hopes of, we'll meet someone who the girls may know, and that's what happened. So luckily, one of the girls knew Bipin, and they invited us round, and happened to be they had a few spaces left. So we were just, we decided, okay, that's a good idea. Bipin was quite nicely offering his help, because although I pitched a tent a year before that, but that was also with a help of a cousin. So I was not mastering this, but yeah, it was really good help from him. And I think other people jumped in as well, other girls as well from the team, to like help us out and put the tents up. So yeah, the next day we started chatting. He took me for a coffee near to a tent where they was offering us coffees and croissants and all. And we started to actually getting to know each other. Like, I liked his personality, and that kind of drawn me into, having a conversation with him.
Okay, cool. How did you know that you guys were the one? How did you know that this could be my potential future husband or my potential future wife?
you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Cool. So basically, I kind of liked her, as I said, like, the first time I saw her, I was like a proper attraction um, towards her. And then, as she mentioned, the next day, kind of, we spoke. We spoke almost the next day when we got up. We spoke for like an hour and a half or something, and I think the conversation really naturally flew. Like, there was a good communication between both of us. We were asking questions, answering each other, and that was I was kind of something I felt like, usually that doesn't happen. Like, quite a lot of time I've observed myself, or I've heard from the guys, like, when you're talking to someone, sometimes the girls are dismissive of your talks, or they'll just try and ignore the question, try and go away from you. That didn't happen. I think both of us were like kind of going back and forth with our questionnaires, answering the topics. It was a nice flow, and then I think after 1.5 hours, I think I kind of felt that, wow, this conversation has lasted really long, and a lot of people have started looking at us, kind of wondering what is going on. So I kind of took this opportunity to take her to just say to her, like, if she wanted to grab a coffee or something, just there was a tent next by where they were selling coffees and croissants and everything, as Timmy mentioned. So I took her there. We went there, had tea or coffee or something, and again, I think we spent about like almost an hour, 45 minutes or an hour. Again, we spoke there. So it's like it was almost 2.5 3 hours. We were like continuously talking, and I think that made me feel like, that this girl is taking interest in me. And uh, later on, exchanged our numbers, and kind of asked her to meet me up in the church for like in the morning, like, when we all used to meet up, like as friends, or as a group, or as a team, or sit together as a team in the church attending the services. And during the week as well, we were communicating quite often, talking to each other. During that time, I realized, like, we had kind of similar interests, and we were talking about the same things, talking about the church, and I could see that, she was interested in the things that I was interested in. She was taking the same kind of uh, uh, she liked what I liked, or she took part in that. It wasn't like, okay, if you want to do that one, go and do that one. I'm not interested, kind of thing. And especially because it was uh, we both are believers, and kind of the interest about teams, interest about the church activities was quite similar. And that felt as if, like, yeah, kind of feels like God is telling me that she's the one. We both have similar interests. So kind of felt like, yeah, she's the one, and a lot of things were kind of shared between us that felt like, oh yeah, yeah, it feels like it's going to go somewhere lasting. And I think the result of that is there, that, you know we ended up being together. And yeah.
Uh, from my side, I have to admit I was not looking for a relationship as such, but when we started to get to know each other, um, I kind of, especially at the actual place at this music festival, I looked at him as a potential friendship to start to begin with, because he was a really, really nice guy. And like he already mentioned, um, we had a really good conversation flow, and especially with him being from a different culture, we talked a lot of things about his culture, which interested me. But I wasn't sure, or well, from my side, I wasn't sure if this gonna lead into a relationship as such, or I wasn't sure what his interest will be. Also, I think because I wasn't quite ready for a new relationship at that particular time, considering the fact I have gone through a really bad heartbreak with a previous relationship. So I think I was at that stage of my life where I just wanted to take it easy, and just see where God leads me to, in terms of a new relationship or a potential husband. you know so when we came back to London, and he was really consistent with making sure I'm okay and texting me, and we every Sunday morning we used to go to this breakfast place where we didn't meet up as one to one as such. We met up as a group of people, which was nice because that kind of opened up a door for me to get to know other people and also get to know him. But I was still not quite sure where this is going to lead to. And I remember that was in May when we met up, and around June, I think it was, or July, I'm not sure. So it probably went about 4 or 5 weeks past since this music festival obviously taken place. And he called me and said, "Would you like to come out for a date with me?" And it kind of put me on the spot, to be honest. I was like, okay. Didn't took me too long to actually answer him. I said to myself at that particular moment, I said, why don't I just go and get to know this guy and see where this is gonna head? And that's exactly what happened. So he, bless him, he really organized an amazing day. We went to Greenwich. Was it Greenwich, isn't it? Into London, and we went it was a lovely day. We went out to this place. What was that called?
Cadillac.
Yeah, no, not the actual.
Oh, the observatory.
Observatory, yeah, exactly that. So we went up to the observatory, and then he took me down to the Scottish. It's a boat where you got like a restaurant underneath it, and then after that we went out for an Italian restaurant. And then I remember that day when I got home and I started thinking. He did call me actually after we both got home, and he said, "What you feel? How did this go? Would be a second date for us?" And it was no hesitance. Absolutely, I was like so sure. I think that was the first date really proved to me he was the one, because obviously, like he already mentioned, we had a lot of common interest in terms of church, in terms of our faith. I also prayed a lot when I started to notice the approach from his side to God show me the way, what I need to do. But after the first date, seeing the effort, seeing all that he put into for this date, he did amazing. I have to admit, he did amazingly to, making sure everything goes smoothly, everything goes, the way he imagined it. But also, I think we had a wonderful time. I honestly, I cannot thank him enough. And then when he said, "Should we have another second date?" it was no hesitance. That was for me a massive yes.
And that's when you knew, okay, this could be something potential. Okay.
Yeah.
And Bipin, when was that specific moment for you? When did you realize?
Yeah, I think as I said, the flow and the topics. I think the date that we mentioned just now, it was I think we met up around about 10:30, 11 o'clock, and we were together until 7, without 6 or 7, I think, that we left from that place. And I think, if I'm correct, there was not uh, a few seconds or few minutes silence between us. The conversations were flowing like really nicely. There was no like to and fro uh, uh, talking was going on, and I think that kind of felt. And as I said, like up until that, we were talking with each other all the time, like via text or calls, or meeting up on the Sundays. It was kind of during that time. I felt like that these are there was not a specific time or moment, I would say, but it was kind of a whole kind of that period. I was trying to engage or trying to gauge, like if this is what it is, and it felt like yeah, it is becoming positive and positive and positive and positive. I was in conversation with my friends as well, and they would ask me, "How does it feel? How does it feel?" Like, yeah, it's going on the right track. That's what I would say all the time to them. So I think a couple of the guys knew that I was already talking to her, and they were saying, "Oh, that shows that it's going well. It's going well." So yeah, it was not a particular moment, but it was like the track was right. That's
So you kind of knew from how you guys were communicating and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You kind of figured out, actually, this is a good
Yeah.
vibe.
Yeah.
Cool. So we've gone from you guys dating. So how did you? Let's talk about the proposal. Actually, how did we get from your first date to proposal?
Am I going first again?
You proposed.
Yeah. So I think proposal to, as I said, the dating to proposal, the journey. I think it was in 1 year. I think it was 1 year, and like any other, what do you call that? Like any other couple, we had ups and downs. We had arguments, we had fights, we had good times, we had really wonderful dates. We had conversations with our friends and families about the relationship. So it was all kind of whole package, you would say, you know. Uh, and I don't remember now if we went for holidays in between, before I proposed. Oh yes, we did. We went to Venice. Um, and a lot of my friends, I think, thought that Venice is a really romantic place, and probably Venice going to propose in that place. And I had planned to propose her at that time, but that wasn't the place that I wore, or I wasn't ready, probably, um, financially, I would say, in that trip to propose her. But I think mentally, kind of, I was kind of ready, to propose her. So we had that holiday, and then I was in conversation, as I said, like with my family and my friends, about this proposal. So I think we yeah. So we planned this holiday, and then I planned to get the ring and everything, bought it, took it to the place, and that's how the journey was.
So from my perspective, when we officially announced we as a couple, I think it was around September time, when we sort of said to, well, I think I told my parents before that. I have to admit, leading up to that, like I was obviously so confident about me and him. It was a little bit of a thing, the acceptance, how, you know, my parents and friends and all will accept, obviously, because he's coming from a different culture. But all went well, and we officially announced it to extended family around September time in 2018. And I remember we had a conversation, me and him, about how long we'll be, you know, having this like dating period until, you know, we picture, you know, our life together as in marriage. Now, you have to know about me. I have had a past relationship which was around 8 years or a bit longer than 8 years. And I was very specific to him at the time when we officially announced it. I said, I do not want to wait another 8 years to know if a guy really wants a relationship leading into marriage. So I was expecting the proposal to happen. I'm not saying pretty quickly, but within a matter of year, because we were in that sort of age where, you know, we said, look, we are adults now, so if we know we want this, then let's commit to this. And I remember, you know, I always remembered how, like, you know, how I do want to like get proposed to, and, you know, getting ready for my wedding and all. So I remember a year went past, just about a year went past since we sort of met each other for the first time. And I started to panic a little bit. I thought, oh, I don't know. I'm not sure if he's going to propose or not, because there's no signs yet. I probably, in a little bit in my heart, I was expecting maybe Venice will, you know, in Venice will happen. That obviously that trip happened because I really, really wanted to go to Venice, not in terms of romantic way, but it happened to be, obviously I went with him. I always wanted to get to Venice, but because it happened, you know, to go with my boyfriend. And, you know, at the time I remember we had this conversation about, you know, when we do want to, you know, commit to this more seriously. I was a little bit hopeful in my heart, like, oh, maybe it will happen at this trip. And I'm glad it didn't happen, because he surprised me even better later that year. I think we went to Venice around May, and then he proposed in August when we went to Isle of Wight. So it happened when I least was expecting this proposal to happen. And yeah, I think he did a very good job with that as well. I think he impressed me massively, how all the details, he looked into all the details of this trip to make sure it will be the best and the most romantic way. I remember we had different rooms, and I mean, we could not be any further apart. Like, he was on, I think, number one, you know, little room, and then I was completely 90 something, so I was in a completely different part of the hotel. So that worked out well for him, because he tried to blow up some balloons with helium, and he ordered this helium to the hotel, which then didn't arrive, unfortunately for him. Or did it arrive? No, it didn't.
Arrived the next day.
The next day, yeah. So he was trying to, bless him, to blow up some balloons and take it to the beach early in the morning, set up this little, it was like obviously some wooden poles, you know, leading into the beach. So he wanted to decorate that wooden pole with balloons, and then take me out early in the morning for a sunrise, sorry. And luckily, I mean, because he was so far away, he could obviously, you know, organize this balloon issue. And he said he left early in the morning to get out of this door, of the hotel room's door, with all these balloons all blown up, and one of them popped.
Well, actually, two of them popped. One I was while inflating, and the other one was while we were going out. I was going out.
So yeah, so I was like, oh my goodness, like you probably woke up the whole hotel people there. But I liked all the details, how he thought of this. And then remember, he called me early in the morning and asked me if I want to wake up and go to because I had got a professional camera to wanted to take some photos. And so I was like really, really sleepy. I'm not a morning person. And he called me, I think it was just before 6 o'clock. I think the sunrise was around that time. And he said, oh, can you get up, please? Because I want to take you out to watch the sunrise. And I was like, oh, can we just do it tomorrow? I'm like really, really sleepy. And he was just really insistent, like, no, come on, I'm coming to your door. He was really like knocking on my door, like, come on, get up, get the camera. We'll miss this beautiful sunrise and all. And you know what? It turned out better than we thought, because it was such a beautiful, clear sky, and it was such an amazingly, you could see the sunrise. I've never seen that in my life before. Of the following morning, we tried to repeat the same scenario just for the sake of the photos, because obviously when this proposal happened, everything got a bit sidetracked. And the following morning was so much more cloudier. So it didn't, so I'm glad I woke up that morning when, he planned that.
Well, I had to do a lot of research. I had to check which are the areas where there's sunrise, what are the best spots, because I knew that, it's going to be a trouble probably in the morning. If in case she doesn't want to wake up or something, we may be having a really short period of time to reach. So I booked a hotel which was really close to the beach, so that I could reach within like few minutes of walk. And the thing is, when I was trying to knock on her door and everything, she's like, no, I don't want to wake up. I don't want to wake up. I was like, I just was panicking because I had already put the balloons up. What happened was 3 o'clock, I started doing the balloons, inflating balloons and everything. So around about 4 o'clock, I finished all the balloons. Then I took them around about 4:30, between 5. I took them to the beach to put it on the wooden pavements and stuff like that. So I had already done that one. So if she doesn't wake up, that all goes into waste. So this is, you have to get up. You have to get up, and as you mentioned, by good thing that it was all clear sky, nice and beautiful. We've got a video of that, of beautiful clear skies, and so yeah, it was all nice and then beautiful and romantic kind of thing. So thank God that everything, whatever I had planned, worked really well. And I could impress her. It was a surprise kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I
Very
was
cool.
very surprised about it, like all the details we looked into.
Very nice. Very, very nice. And what other obstacles other than cultural issues did you guys have when dating or even just before marriage?
Well, as soon as we got engaged, carrying on with the story where we left off, obviously we were starting to plan our wedding, because we wanted to, get it done as soon as, within a matter of a year. Little we knew, this is gonna end up into a disaster, because 2019 we got engaged in August, and if everything would have went by the plan, we would have been married last year in June. And little we knew, when January, February went past, walking into March, we're gonna face a huge global pandemic, which we didn't even know what that really meant, knowing the fact he's a nurse himself, and he probably knew more than I did. Um, And we were just in such a situation where when this happened, when England got into lockdown and you know other countries followed, I was honestly, I didn't even know where to even begin or start. I was very hopeful right till the end this wedding will be happening, but it just things escalated worse to bad to worse. And I remember we had so many things in plan. We I lived obviously in well outside London, a small county in a very small studio flat. He lived in London, so getting used to see each other and organizing our wedding, it was hard on its own. But when we came closer to the date of the wedding, we decided he wanted to bring his family over from India for the wedding, and we had loads of things set out for the wedding. People coming from the UK to Romania for that wedding. People started booking their tickets. Everything was all set. And March came, we went into lockdown. We also had a contract with a property which we were planning to move into as soon as his parents obviously would have landed into the UK. Um, and, obviously, March was happening. My dad came from Romania to help us transitioning from, moving stuff and everything. And literally, about less than 8 hours later, he was rushed into the hospital with a heart attack. I think that was one of our first really big challenge as a couple to see how we deal with this as a couple. I mean, I cannot explain how hard that was. Him coming over to a country. I think it was his first time, no, second time, and you know, we thought we are gonna lose him. He was, even the doctors said it was a miracle from heaven. He actually survived this heart attack. And so it was really, that was like us to pull together and, rushing together to the hospital, be there with him, driving back and forth, getting things sorted, insurance and all of that. Bear in mind, we just moved into this new property. Everything was all over the place. We didn't even have this, like when the paramedics arrived, he was literally on a floor, on a blown up bed, literally all half dead, basically. We were, I think that was our first start as a couple. I mean, I cannot even prescribe how much stress we have had in the first week of, you know, starting the life together. Like, well, obviously we were together before that, but this was different because we were literally like getting moving into a property. Obviously, things after he recovered, he went back. Then we find out his parents' international flights got cancelled. They couldn't come anymore to the UK. I was still very hopeful. I said, okay, fine, hopefully things will change, but it didn't. People started to like get back to us. Yeah, my flight got cancelled. My flight got cancelled. We had to cancel our flight. We lost an awful lot of money, and it was just, considering the fact, and then I got jobless as well. I forgot about that part when straight after lockdown, I've been told, not to go to work. I'm self-employed, so, if I don't work, that I don't get paid. So everything financial, with that, what happened, we were new to each other as such. Like we just got to start to know each other, like how we work, to live under the same roof. We weren't married, so we had that pressure from others of what you guys, especially my culture, is really particular about. You shouldn't be living with anyone before marriage, but we had absolutely no choice because the contract was signed. We were obviously hoping you know, his parents will be around, and then we're literally gonna, because we're supposed to move in March, wedding June, and things would have, started to normal as a married couple, but everything obviously got backlashed, and we were in such a situation where we felt really uncomfortable even living under the same roof, because we had to make it to, like, obviously tell people about what choice we had to make. My parents, not even today, not many people probably will know this, but people who have found out, we had a lot of negative comments about, well, how come you guys moved in? And we tried to explain, but not many people would have understood that. Um, and it was, I think it shaped us, all these things, what was coming from back and forth. I think my turning point was, I think I have told you, Dionne, personally at once, where I was driving home from the hospital from where my dad was, and I had issues with the estate agent from my previous house. I moved out from, things weren't going right, some paperwork issues, and dad was obviously not feeling well still at that point. And I was driving home to get some stuff to take back to the hospital, and my car broke down in the middle of a roundabout. And that was the turning point. I went into an absolute meltdown. I was in tears. Cars that were hooting me, people like swearing at me, rolling down their windows. What are you doing in the middle of the roundabout? It was this big van coming towards me. They saw me, guys who were in the car, they saw me in so much distress, and they got out and they were like, "Are you okay?" I said, "I don't know. I'm not sure." And they were like, "What's wrong with the car?" I said, "I don't know, it doesn't start, but that's my least issue." I said to him, "Just help me get this car out of the way. I'm just coming home from a hospital. My dad is had a heart attack. My life is crumbling." And they were so lovely, these people. They pushed the car into the nearest petrol station, and I had to literally, like, give me 5 minutes to cry myself out. And then they got into the car and they just started the engine, and the car started up. It was God giving me some sort of point to see what would I do when what am I doing when I'm in the lowest of the lowest. And it was really tough, but I had to remind myself everything happens for a reason, and God is there even when you feel in the lowest of the lowest. And as a couple, I mean, I remember he was my rock throughout this process, because although he's not as talkative as I am, but when he does give you advice, he really um, it does say meaningful things, which really touches my heart. And he was so supportive throughout the whole process of this, the wedding cancellation, the dad issue, even just settling into the house. I mean, from sleeping on the floor with having no beds, no sofas, no nothing, all the way up to where we started to get things, sorted and make our home. Really, he was there throughout. And that, for us, I mean, it was the amount of disappointments I had to go through, even with reorganizing things, even just getting us to the point where we legally could get married back in October last year. Lots of disappointments, a lot of ups and downs we had, but he was there. Honestly, I don't know what would I have done without him, because I was in so many times on a breaking point. But also God was in the midst of it all, and that really also helped, because we were doing marriage preparation course as well through two different churches as well because we were in lockdown, we had all the time, and we were reading books together to, like, make sure everything we do in terms of our relationship, we following wiser people's advices as well. And yeah, it was not easy, but we overcome. And looking back now, I think this had to happen, although this is not how we would have ever imagined, but it shaped us in the first year. Like a lot of people have said, the first year is gonna be hard. When you especially like um, getting to adjust to your partner. I mean, I think with us that wasn't the hardest bit. I think the circumstances we were living in was the hardest, but it shaped us as people, definitely, and as a couple.
Wow, wow. What about you, Bipin? Like, how did you feel in that time when everything was happening, and to hear that Timmy thought that you were her rock? How did that feel for you?
I think she would say that I'm not an expressive, so and I think in generally I'm like that. Um, I I don't know. I don't tend to get panic in that sense, or I would calm myself uh, pretty easily. Or I'm kind of laid back, I would say. I'm laid back, but I think um, by God's grace that has helped me deal with the situations. And I think, as she's saying that I'm her rock, I think she's helped me a lot as well. Where I was not confident about certain things and getting really, really crossed with certain things. We struggle through the financially as well. Few months after the lockdown, a couple of months or 3 months or something, and that was something that we had to come up, make sure, and she was supportive of that, like, don't worry about it. We can work it through. We can manage it, and we will overcome that. And these are the things that she was really kind of considerate and helpful, like, yeah, that's fine. We when we had things where all the flights and everything got cancelled, she was one of the person who actually on the computer, like, almost every day trying to get all the money back. So I wasn't involved in anything other than advising her, like, what to write in an email or who to contact or something. But most of the things she was doing everything, trying to get. We lost a good amount of money in this lockdown due to cancellations, and that was kind of a big impact as we are starting something new as a family, and that hasn't even happened yet, and we've already lost the money which we would be needing again in the future, and we wouldn't have it with us, and that's just a loss. And unfortunately, that's not going to be recovered, or because a lot of things are from abroad, I would say, because our flights and everything was booked from abroad, and my family's tickets, our own family's tickets here, flying from here to the country that we were planning to get married in, and so it was quite difficult. And I think she did a lot of work trying to get most of the money out and everything. So she was really helpful. It was a you know stressful time, but I think uh, we were both there for each other. We were both um, helping each other when the other one was panicking. Say, like, if I was panicking, she was being strong and there to support me, or when she was panicking, I was there to support her. I think that was one of the things that worked really well for us
Yeah.
during this whole entire year. I think um, I'm not an expert on the relationships, or probably people who have been married more than us, like, would say that, that is what we need in our relationship for helping each other. And I think uh, that we learned very early,
Really, yeah.
very early, kind of, when we became together, came to this house, and we had to be there for each other. It wasn't individual fight; it was a
Yeah.
fight of us together, and
Yeah.
there was someone to look, to defend our back, kind of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, our family and friends
Yeah,
was as well another support team, I should say.
yeah,
But I think we were the ones who actually had to face the issues and make the decisions, ourselves, and how are we going to get out of this, or how are we going to, um, you know, deal with it, basically, because like I mentioned, the disappointment, it was just enormous, the past year, for both of us, really. And I think, you know, like I said to a lot of people, especially in our friendship, will be good testimonies coming out, I think, from couples as well during this difficult year. But for us, as such, we definitely can look back and say, yes, it was difficult, but it had to happen to shape us. I wouldn't have imagined this shaping process will happen in our first year. I would have thought, let's get, at least 5 years married, and, gradually we'll have difficulties and things going on. But look like we have to experience this in very early on in our relationship and marriage even.
yeah. And as you mentioned, as Timmy mentioned, the support of friends and family was there. I think we were in constant communication with lots of our friends and family from church, or the people who have been friends with us. They were checking on us. They were praying for us. They were helping us out. And during the pandemic, I think the Zooms were a constant thing, or
Yeah.
the WhatsApp, or the random call or text,
Yeah.
which was really helpful. Same with the families, we were in constant touch with our families and checking on us and everything. So I'm 100% sure their prayers were there with us as well. So
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, it's a lot to unpack when you start unpacking everything that you guys have been through. But what advice would you give someone who's been through something like you guys have, like with having to cancel your wedding during pandemic and like having family health issues? What kind of advice could you give to a newly wedded couple or someone who's looking to get married soon?
don't plan your wedding during pandemic.
Well, we didn't plan the wedding for pandemic, that's for sure. Personally, I think whether that is a pandemic or whether that is on a normal times but different obstacles you're facing, I think what from my opinion, you have to be consistent to your relationship, as much as it's hard it seems, but you have to just pull yourself together and pray. I think prayer is a big key. I mean, if God is in the midst of it in a relationship, then is no it's no big problems, I would say. Like, everything will solve itself out. God is there and everything happens for a reason. But I know it's sometimes people say it's easier said than done. Honestly, guys, we went through the hardest of the hardest, and I can say from my own experience, it wasn't easy at all. But I think love is another key. Like, if you love your partner full heartedly, I mean, even if you're on a breaking point, I think love can do like anything. And that's what we did. When I was on a breaking point, he was there for me. When he was on a breaking point, I was there for him. And that has to be two-way. And like, so many people would give up halfway through. And believe me, I was like not giving up the relationship as such, but I was, like I said, when I had my breaking point, I just wanted to finish like everything. Like I felt like this is ending. Like I felt like I can't see a way through this, and had to remind myself and just take a deep breath. And the first person I called, it was my mum, and a mum is always a good support. I would say, especially if you're female, like they are there for you as a rock. And she really, really prayed for me over the phone, and she said to me, I know we are very far, but I'm there with you. I understand you. And that meant a lot. And I know he obviously worked very long hours during the pandemic as well. So for us to talk with each other, it was only the evenings. But he was there. He was there consistently for me. And what really, really helped, we have got a book called The Marriage Life by Nick and Sheila, which is a book. We did this marriage course, and I remember we every evening, I mean, it's a very thick book, and there's lots of chapters. So we used to do every evening, that was our winding down time, where we were looking for answers. We sat down and we were reading a chapter each evening, and we prayed as a couple. And that, I think, during this time, that was a very big key for our, keeping us moving, and, not getting to a point where we like, okay, we had enough of this. Like that kept us going, basically.
Yeah, as I mean, for for any new relationships or couples, I think this would be the key. Uh, for us being believers and Christians, God is, as Tim was saying, God is the center, and He's the center for us. But um, you may or may not be a believer. There has to be a common ground for us. Christ is the common ground that we know that is there. That's the support that we have. That's the rock that we have, and you need to have that rock somewhere. And quite a lot of people, as Stephen mentioned, love is that rock. Love can be that rock, and that is there. And you, the the rock, the loving foundation that you have, if it is good, you're not gonna um, you're not gonna fall off of it, or you're not gonna have any problems with that. And even if you do have problems with that, I would what I would say is not to give up. You have to stand for each other, stand with each other, and help and support each other. uh, Lots of other things are in there, like you have to understand each other, you have to support each other, you have to forgive each other, you have to um, cope up with each other. You have to there's a lot of times that's going to be really, really nerve wracking times when you're like, oh, just give me some kind of like, just leave me alone kind of thing. But that leave me alone should not be a forever leave me alone, but like a 5-10 minutes. Okay, just I need some time on my own, but I'll come back and speak to you kind of way. You're gonna have those times when you're gonna have arguments. No relationship is gonna be without an argument, whether that is a husband wife or a brother and sister or a friend. Every relationship is gonna have arguments. It's just how you cope with that, and how you uh, try and resolve these things. And I think, as I said, like forgiveness, understanding, supporting up few of the parts of it. There's going to be lots and lots of that. So my advice for a newly married couple would be the same thing. Don't give up, and keep loving and forgiving and understanding each other. And I think that will let the other person know that that you love them, that you forgive them, that you understand them, and communication is really good,
Absolutely.
like a very important part. If you don't communicate, if you don't share, that's going to be in your heart all life, and
Yeah.
it's not going to help you.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, guys. I think there's more questions I could ask you, but I think you guys have such a different story when it comes to how you guys ended up getting married and everything, which we haven't even really dug into. So if we could just tell us, like, how did you end up getting married in the end, with your wedding being cancelled and everything? How did you guys end up getting married?
So we found out quite early on, I think probably what our plan was to get married here in the UK legally a week before the actual church wedding, which would have been held in Romania. But we found out quite early on, around April, May time, they cancelled all the civil ceremonies here in the UK. So I mean, we were very hopeful at least we could do that, even if we can't go or like travel abroad to do the church wedding, but that obviously didn't happen either. And then I remember we got an email straight after the I think about a few weeks after the cancellation, they were saying we can start booking now for next date. And we'd obviously try to book it as soon as things started to open up, but the earliest we could do it was October. And so we, again, my organization skills like popped in, like, okay, let's do this like a little mini wedding. I started planning. I thought, okay, I will do I think the government advice was 30 people for weddings. So I thought, okay, we'll do the actual civil, we'll go out for a meal with friends with 30 people. Wasn't ideal, obviously. We were planning to have a lot more than just 30, but we thought, okay, let's do what we can and just enjoy. It was by that point, I think we were, not that people didn't matter, it did matter, but we were like, let's just look all the positives. Like I tried to look even from all this darkness what we were surrounded with, all this negativity, or weddings cancelled, this, we couldn't get out of our homes only once a day, and everything was just so depressing. I tried to always look at the positive side of it. That kept me going. And I remember I said to Bipin, look, let's just, will be wonderful. This ceremony will be wonderful. We went to have a look at a venue. We thought, okay, we can't have, like, we couldn't actually hire a restaurant as such because restaurants were closed. They were not allowed to operate. But you can hire a venue, a hall, and bring your food in. So we thought, okay, let's do that. Well, we reserved the hall. We had everything in place. Obviously, I bought things, all the necessary things, decorations and such, and organizing everything what we had to. And then I was so excited. Honestly, I cannot describe this. I was like, okay, this, let's just consider this as our actual wedding, and then the rest can wait when we can. And then 2 weeks before the it was 2 weeks. 2 weeks before the actual date, our prime minister announced you can't have 30 people anymore, just only 15 people. I mean, I don't know if I would picture it in an animated picture. I would just picture something like somebody with a hammer just like bashing me in my head. Every time I was trying to rise up, it was a hammer coming from a side and just bash me into the ground. And that's exactly how I felt. I was like, as soon as I tried to like, okay, let's look at positive, let's just take the most of it, something was coming from a side. And I remember we had 2 weeks to like tell people who we were already invited to, like, guys, we're really, really sorry, but we can't have you now because we only allowed 15 people, which obviously included us. So it's only 13 people. So we were like, really, me, I don't know about him, but personally, I was just drained. I was like, I have to say, when that day came, and that was another thing, when the day came, obviously we cancelled the meal bit. We didn't do any meal after all. We just turned up at the actual registrar, and it was the morning leading up to the actual wedding. We had to be there at 12 o'clock. I mean, I thought, okay, nothing can go wrong anymore now. I've done everything what the government asked me. I've got the 15 people, I've got the dress, I've got my paperwork done. We are heading to get married. And guess what? We woke up and it was the biggest rain you could possibly think. You couldn't even see, like the wipers on the car was going like this. I said, I can't even have a good weather for my wedding. I mean, honestly, if something could go wrong, it felt like everything went wrong with us. And we decided to drive instead of, getting the train, because originally we were planning to get the train because it's London and, all the charges, to drive into London. But we then decided to get the car, and we turned up and everything went beautifully.
We parked the car, we came out of the parking lot, the rain just stopped.
Yeah.
There was literally, and there was no sun at that time, but the rain had stopped. There were clouds. So we walked up, we took the stuff that she had because she didn't wear the dress at that time. We walked there. I was in the suit and everything, met up with some friends. Most of you guys were there already, welcoming us. So
yeah, and honestly, if I look back, with all the little options we have had, with all the restrictions we had, it turned out we managed to still sit down and eat. After all, we just wandered into one of the restaurants nearby. They were happy to have us. We have had our photos done. We have had a little photo shoot, what I imagined. And honestly,
after the wedding, when we came out, the sun was out there.
Yeah.
For like few minutes or what, but there was a sun. We could take some pictures. It did drizzle like for a few seconds or something, and then photo shoot, and then came back. We had something to eat. There was no rain. Then we came back. I think we came inside the house, and the rain started again.
Yeah.
So that period when we were the car until we came back, it was all nice.
Yeah, so God was there and seen our heart desires, I suppose. But yeah, it ended up being better than we probably would have thought. And
had some of our friends there, which we were blessed for that. We asked one of our pastors to pray for us just after the wedding. Obviously, it's a official building, so we couldn't ask him to pray for us in the building. And also, they were like literally checking us out because they had another wedding to conduct. So we were asked to go out, so we came out, stood there, had a little prayer for us. Obviously, everything was witnessed by lots of our friends on Zoom. But yeah, that was our time to get married in a pandemic.
Yeah.
Amazing. And you guys are gonna have your church wedding later, but officially you're married couple.
Yeah, we're legally married. Yeah.
Legally married. Church wedding is to follow soon.
Yes.
Again, it's on the cards, but let's see.
Yeah, we'll just have to hope for the best.
Hope for the best, as in like at the moment, with the pandemic, it's the same thing all over again.
Yeah.
It depends on the infection rates and how the government allows us to go out.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, guys. The last question I do have is a question I ask all the couples towards the end of the podcast, which is, what have you learnt about being open, vulnerable, and empathetic since being married?
I would start actually. Being open, vulnerable, and empathetic. I think earlier I was making that statement, that you need to have the communication,
Mm,
and that is the part of it to be open, having the communication. If you don't share, you're never gonna be, you're never gonna understand it,
Mhm.
and that's what would show my weaknesses to her, being vulnerable. That would reveal her strong points or my strong points or my weaknesses as well. So these are the things that we would learn about each other, being open and vulnerable. And if I'm not open, if I'm not vulnerable, or if she's not open, I won't be able to show the love and empathy, being empathetic towards her. Because if if I start, and I think quite a lot of time that happens with the guys, I'm strong, and comes a point, a breaking point,
mm,
where you're lost. And if I have never shown her that I can be vulnerable, I can have weaknesses, I can have points where I can break down, she would never be able to support me.
mm,
And I think that's what we've learned about each other, that it is very important in a relationship. And um, somehow, though it's a negative thing that we had to experience it within the first year of our together, it has helped us.
Mhm.
Um, so it's a negative thing, it's a positive thing that we would look forward for the next, say, 50, 100 years of our lives together. We will be able to stand on this, saying, if we have gone through this, I think the rest of the things would be,
yeah.
not that hard, or it would be pretty easy in other way, kind of, I would say.
Like Bipin mentioned, I mean, there's no perfect relationship and there's no perfect marriage. At least I don't know any of that. But um, like, just stressing on what he already said, I think communication is a very big key. Um, and we have had moments in our life when, I mean, he's quite open. Well, open when I ask him. Well, sometimes he does come up as well on his own when he doesn't like something what I do or how I behaved or what I said. And it does help me to see, what I might have done wrong and where I can improve. And same with me. I'm probably more open, like I'm quite, outspoken. So, he doesn't have to wait too long for me to say my opinion. But I think that's a big key communication because there's no point holding back or building up things inside of you where can like a lot of relationship can break down because of that because you can't speak out, you can't say what you feel, and that kind of outburst after years and years. And I think openness is a good thing. In fact, is a very important thing because if you can get things out of your chest, that can be worked on. And I'm pretty sure, like anytime you say to your partner how you feel, it would make your partner think, "Oh, hold on, yeah, that's how she feels or he feels. Let me change or let me make her happy or him happy." And I think that's kind of worked for us big time. And I mean, obviously, we are in just, well, legally married, only been 6 months. We lived together just over a year, and we have already learned a lot. And I'm sure in the next, however long we got, to live together, we will be learning a lot more. But yeah, the key things are always going to be the same: communication, openness, and share. Just share anything you have in your heart because that builds up confidence and also what's the word? Um, that openness between a couple.
Amazing. Thank you so much, guys. There's so much wisdom and tips and tricks that people can use in the future. So if people wanted to reach out to you, find you guys, where could they find you?
Yeah.
We both are on Facebook, I think. Yeah. We
Yeah,
both are on
so-
Facebook. Bipin Samudre is what my Facebook name says, and hers is Timea Bondor Samudre. So yeah, if people do want to speak to us or talk to us, they can.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We are both, I think, Instagram as well. We go by, I think, our name.
Yeah,
Mine
mine is my name. Yeah.
B_Timea. So yeah, Facebook, Instagram. Yeah.
They can always contact you, and you can contact us.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course. I would
Yeah,
definitely.
very open of if anyone has any questions or any advice. We're not experienced married couples yet. We only been 6 months married, but whatever we can offer and advice, we are more than happy.
Or if you have some advice for us.
That's also welcome.
Awesome. I love it. Cool. I'll put the links in the show notes, so if anyone wants to reach out to you guys, they can just check the show notes and click on the link to get in touch with you. But thank you so much for coming on to the show, guys. Really appreciate this conversation and just having time to talk to you guys. I always love talking to you guys. You know, I'm always asking questions when I see you. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dionne. It's a
Thank
really
you.
good platform, I think you've given to people as well as people to listen to. So all the best for everything, and I'm sure you're gonna do brilliant, and you're gonna learn a lot of things, and you're gonna help a lot of other couples like us, I think, who's gonna listen to other couples' experiences, their views, and the questions that you've put for them. You know, that is going to encourage us. Thank you, and all the best.
Thank you, Dionne, for
Thank you.
inviting us
Yeah.
along.
Thank you.
And yeah.
Thanks, guys.